The stoppie and endo are a great skill to have in your arsenal to impress your mates. It's about getting up onto that front wheel, balancing. For the endo, just at a stationary point, and the stoppie, you're actually doing it while moving. So it comes down to technique and timing of how to get this right. Getting comfortable, getting up and on that front wheel. So the first one is the endo. The stoppie builds on from the endo. So the first thing that you have to learn is how to get that back wheel off the ground and just balance on that front wheel. So coming down, I'd suggest just practicing in a nice open area, maybe a grassy area, park, somewhere that you know if things do go wrong is not such high risk. So the first thing you want to do is build up a little bit of speed and get used to your front brake. So grabbing a bunch of front brake with your to try basically just get used to where it's biting. The next thing it's going to come down to is timing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compress the bike downwards with my weight. So I'm going to compress down. As I compress down, I want to arc my body forward. As I'm arcing my body forward, I'm locking out my arms. I don't want to have my arms bent, because if I try to hold my entire weight as I'm coming forward, it'll often be pretty hard with my arms flaring outwards. So what I want to do is I want to lock my arms out as I'm going up. So as the back wheel's picking up, my arms are going to be locked out. So coming along, I'm going to compress down. As I compress down, I'm going to try arc forward, lock my arms out, and grab a handful of front brake at the same time. What I'd recommend is as you're progressing, start with a little bit. So start with a little bit of front brake with this technique and then build your confidence slowly. That's the best way to learn this. Don't just go in, fully commit. That's often how you'll go over the handlebars. One of the quickest ways to get out of this technique if things are going bad is just to let off the front brake. It'll drop the back wheel straight down, so make sure that you know that you can let off the front brake at any time. It's great just to know it for the back of the head, just to have in the back of the mind so that you have an easy peace of mind. So coming through, when you're up on that front wheel, as the bike's coming over, you're going to find that balance point. It's exactly the same as finding a balance point in a wheelie. It's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, and you're going to get right up to a point where you're almost weightless. You're going to be balancing on the front, and that's the point that you're looking for with that endo. It takes a little bit of confidence, but again, you're trying to come through and you're trying to arc your body forward. You're trying to get that weight, compressing it down, and then standing your hips out forward, arcing that back wheel up, locking out your arm, and getting that weight up and over the front wheel while you're doing that. So the technique to endo is about compressing down to get that back wheel up. So when I'm coming in, when I'm committing, I'm going to look for a point at which I'm going to start to do my endo. I'm going to compress down with my body into the bike, and as I'm compressing down, I'm going to start to grab a bit of front brake. As I'm grabbing front brake, I'm arcing my hips up, bringing the back wheel up. As I'm bringing the back wheel up, I'm locking out my arms so that they're not carrying any of my weight. As the bike's picking up, finding that balance point. Once I get to that balance point, again, if I go too far, I want to let go of the front wheel. Otherwise, I'm going to come to that point, find my balance, and then drop down, and I can pedal kick and get going again from there. So the endo doesn't have major uses just while riding the trail. But one of the applications it does is getting around really tight corners. What it does allows you to pick the back wheel up, swing it around, and straighten up the next section. So, for example, if I was coming around here in the corner, the trail got really tight and I was on a bit of a steep bank, I'd want to get onto my front wheel, get that back wheel around, as opposed to maybe if it's too tight and I can't drift the back wheel around, what I'll do is I'll pick that back wheel up, swing the back wheel around, and straighten up for my next section, which allows me to ride it a little bit easier, just coming in nice and direct and straight, basically having the bike in line with whatever I'm riding next. So if I come through and I skid, the bike's still turning a little bit of an angle, makes it a bit trickier, but if I get the back wheel up and round, it straightens up my whole next section, which makes it a little bit easier. This is great for sections and switchbacks that are really tight in themselves. It allows you to get that back end round nice and comfortably. What you want to do is, as you're coming in, same technique just for the endo. You want to grab a handful of front brakes, loading out, straightening out your arms, arcing that body forward, so compressing down, arcing the body forward. As you're doing that, your front wheel's turning slightly. You want to be looking ahead around the corner that you're going, and you're going to start swinging that back wheel around. So you're going to use the trail as you're coming in, looking forward, over the front end, arcing that back wheel up and round as you're coming through. And as your front wheel's starting to drop in, as you're straightening up, you're going to let off the front brake, the back wheel's going to drop, and it's going to straighten you out for the next section. So your stoppie technique builds on from that endo technique, but you're coming in with a little bit more momentum. Exactly the same again, compressing down, arcing my hips forward. As I'm arcing my hips forward, I'm grabbing a little bit of front brake to start to pick that wheel up, locking my arms out, getting it up. Once I get to this point, when I'm starting to find my balance point, I'm using my brake to either get my wheel up, so I'm grabbing a little bit harder on the front brake to pick the back wheel up a bit more, or if I'm going a little bit too far, I'm letting off a little bit, but I don't want to be letting off completely. So when I'm in that position, I'm modulating. I'm not going on, off. I'm trying to just keep it there, pick it up nice and easy, and let the bike rock underneath me. So finding that, building that confidence. Like I say again, practice this technique somewhere that is nice and stable. Even if you're coming along, riding, getting used to just getting the back wheel off the ground for initially, and then start to build your confidence a little bit more as you go along. So it's about controlling your brakes once you're in that balance point. It takes a little bit of practice and definitely getting comfortable, but it's something nice just to practice over and over, get your confidence up with it. Once you find that balance point, you're going to be right up over the front. That balance point is quite tricky. Just make sure it's a great technique to practice with flat pedals at first, especially because you've either got two options. You can let off the front brake and the back wheel's going to drop, or you're going to go straight over the front. So make sure that if you are going over the front, you don't want to be clipped in, because that'll often end up a little bit worse. So it's a great technique to practice just with flat pedals, so that if you need to eject, you can get over the front nice and quickly.
Another note on the Stoppie, when the bike's arching up, I like to get the saddle attached to my bum. It gives it a lot more stability. You can do this standing as well, but you'll notice that it definitely doesn't have the same sense of stability that the saddle to the bum offers.